So Vincent, BP's announced another big disposal this morning in the Gulf of Mexico. Tell me more about it.
Well, what they're doing is they're selling some fairly chunky but relatively marginal oil fields in the Gulf of Mexico to a company called Plains Exploration and Development, which is based in Houston, and they're getting $5.5 billion in cash from Plains for the assets that they're selling.
It's a fairly big deal for Plains, this market cap only $5 billion.
It's a huge deal for Plains. I think it's very transformative. I mean, BP is selling out of what it refers to as marginal assets around the world, and has been doing so for the last couple of years since the accident with the Macondo oil well. And this is, I think, one of the biggest ones that it's done so far. But these wells are marginal to BP, but they're actually central to lots of other smaller companies. So I think that for Plains, this is a very transformative acquisition, and it's going to double their reserves, and it's going to give them. They'll be a much bigger oil company, a much bigger producer of oil out of the Gulf of Mexico after this transaction.
And how about in the context of BP, which is facing litigation over the Gulf of Mexico accident, the Deepwater Horizon accident? Where does it fit into BP's preparations for that?
Well, I mean, BP is kind of on an enforced slimming diet, really. Since the 2010 accident at the Macondo well, the whole future of BP has been up in the air, and it has reached settlements with various parties involved in the accident. But the big question is, of course, the trial that's due to begin in January in New Orleans, which will be the big legal battle that emerges from the accident itself. It has set itself a target by the end of next year of selling $38 billion worth of assets. It's making a lot of progress in that. This particular transaction in the Gulf of Mexico takes it above the $30 billion mark. So it's a long way towards slimming itself down and getting the sort of cash chest in place to fight and to settle in the Gulf of Mexico whenever those eventualities come around. So, so that's the context in which you have to see this transaction from BP's point of view.
And will it make any difference, do you think, to BP's exploration in the Gulf of Mexico? Obviously, that's a central part of what the company does now.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, and BP is, it's a very big actor in the Gulf of Mexico. It produces about 240,000 barrels a day of oil in the Gulf, and it's selling about 20% of that. This transaction will cut its daily production in the Gulf of Mexico by about 20%. So it's a significant downshifting by BP, downsizing by BP in the Gulf, and this is all part of the sort of enforced diet that it's on, unfortunately.
Well, we'll wait to see what happens with that diet next, and all eyes obviously will be on the trial that starts in January. Vincent, thank you very much.